This is WEBurlesque.
Hey, it's Viktor Devonne. Thank you for listening. Special thank you to my Patreon supporters, Alex, Andrea, Bo, Joyce, Dullbody, Kelly Blue, Princess Chris, Rob Starabin, Ruthless Retribution, Stormageddon, and Drew Wilkinson. Really appreciate it. Don't forget, if you go to Patreon and you support any amount, you will have access to our monthly home theater editions, as well as, depending on your tier, some other bonuses. So, thank you very, very much.
Hi, this is TC Roosevelt.
Hi, this is Daisy Bitch.
This is Bella Simmons.
This is Femme Appeal.
This is Serafina Walder, and you're listening to WEBurlesque The Podcast, Season 5.
Gotcha.
Not a problem. All right.
All right, Mr. Hollywood.
Oh, and you can swear. That's also okay.
Fucking great.
Welcome to WEBurlesque The Podcast. My name is Viktor Devonne. I am your host. And today, on this March 12th, 2021 recording date, I have my predecessor as Mr. Hollywood Burlesque. I have Kirby LaBrea. How are you?
Hello. I am so good, Victor.
Are you in the Los Angeles area?
Yes, I'm in the Valley.
Is that where you've originally hailed from?
Yes, the city of Sherman Oaks.
See, I'm a relative.
Sherman.
I'm a relatively new transplant to Los Angeles area. What is it meant for you, and why? What has kept you here?
Well, I suppose like when I was younger, I wasn't going so actively after artistic opportunities, just because I was afraid to even acknowledge what I wanted to do. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do something artsy and performy, but I didn't know if that meant, movies or if it meant music, but I knew like Hollywood was an element of it. And so I just always kind of had this feeling like whatever launching point my career takes, I feel like being in LA and living in LA is going to somehow make it easier, And I wanted to get out of high school and go to New York because I wanted to do musical theater. And I obviously thought Broadway was the answer because it wasn't as prevalent in LA. So I thought, but then growing up a few years after high school, I found there is a huge musical theater community and a lot of different chances for musical theater out here to with all the TV specials of musicals and stuff going on. After when I thought I would have gone to New York, that's kind of shined a new light of like things that are possible.
Because you're an actor, singer, dancer. You actually have all of these skill sets, triple threat. Did that come in early for you? Were you a performing arts kid?
Yes, singing was first. My whole family, my whole dad's side of my family are basically professional singers and recording artists. And so singing was the thing I felt like, was going to be my family obligation. Like, oh, my dad's a singer. It was that sort of thing. Like, I'm going to be a singer, I guess. And then dance found me only because I thought singers are supposed to dance. So I got to learn how to dance. And then when I learned how to dance, it like spoke a whole new language to me that enveloped me and consumed me. And based on that, I was able to tap into that energy in singing after I found dance, and then in acting after I found dance as well. Like it really created that growth.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I guess one would possibly inform the other to sort of help develop those skill sets, the emotion and the conveying that to an audience. If you had to pick one as your either your favorite or your best skill set, what do you think you're best at?
Oh, I think it would probably have to be dance. Like I do love singing, but it would probably have to be dance because it was the way that it allowed me to really find the part of myself to show, you
Mm.
know.
What kind of dance? What are we talking modern dance, or are we talking jazz, hip hop? What are we?
If I had to pick one, it would be flamenco because that is the energy that has kind of transversed itself in everything I do. I feel like once I began learning flamenco and started to learn the history and you know the the values of it, I felt like everywhere I perform harnesses and pulls from that to create the persona that I love to show people. Like it's primal, it is like old energy and yet risque in a way that was not comfortable for people to watch when it was created.
Mm-hmm.
And especially taking some of those things and sort of shifting a couple of those accents to be in the time we are now or the environment we are. It just always seems to come back to flamenco for me.
I would view that normally as sort of partner dancing. Is there also a solo version of flamenco, or do you just apply it?
Yes. Oh yeah, flamenco is mostly done without partner dance. There's an aspect of it, but the way that I always train, it's like the footwork which is done like in unison, but not in a partner format. And like playing castanets or like fandango dancing, like all of that is usually done like in unison but separate bodies.
But it's very sultry and it's very
Yeah.
Did,
Yes, it's hella sexy.
well, were you an early adopter into figuring out how to channel your body language and your sexuality into that kind of performance? Because sometimes I would assume that can be a bit challenging to
Yeah.
get used to and
That
get comfortable.
yeah, that did take me some time and again, like I feel like flamenco because I found flamenco when I was 20 years old. And I had been training in other forms of dance by that time, only 2 years. So
Mm-hmm.
it was like I was dipping my toes in and like opening these doors. Hadn't done burlesque yet, but was doing something like burlesque adjacent where I still had to be sexy and I hadn't quite figured that out. It felt like I was faking the like I know I'm sexy sort of thing, like I was faking it. And then with flamenco, once that found me and once I felt what my teacher was teaching me, I was like, oh, this is what it feels like to believe that you're hot.
Mm.
And that was it kind of started to trickle down in what I was then starting to create for burlesque and luckily it found me at the beginning of my burlesque journey. So I was able to like freshly kind of incorporate what I was learning. But it still took time. Like I still feel like for a while, like the first maybe 2 or 3 years of me doing burlesque, because I think maybe I didn't get my first like legit Hollywood burlesque gig until maybe 2014 or so. It was like 2 years into my doing burlesque. And so
Oh, so
by
you started in
that time,
2012.
yes, I was like 20 years old, started in 2012, turned 21, and then I was like, okay, now I can get in all the clubs. I'm hardcore. Now I'm going to look for gigs and like look for all these troops and stuff. And so I did research for a really long time before like Monday Night Teas, like Lily's show was obviously first results on like the tops of many of my searches, but it took me a while to build up to that point. Like I immediately sent an email, but then you have to send a video. And I was like, I have no video. So I got to do some gigs, get some video, and then come back to this show, which took about a year or something by that time.
Isn't it so funny that in the book ending of it, now everyone needs video because everything is digital?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. Seriously, that's been because I'm a pretty video focused performer. Like since seeing that in Lily's format of submission, I'm like, okay, so I basically got to make sure every performance I have some kind of video, even if it's just to look at and study the performance. But then if it's a good one, I can send it for submissions and get gigs easier. I've always been like, I gotta have my video or figure out a way to get it, like pretty majority of the time.
I'm not a fan of watching myself. Like I can do photos and I can, but I don't love, my vanity does not extend to watching me perform on video a whole lot. How critical are you of your, like, do you like analyze it in a real degree, or how do you get beyond that potential ego boost?
Sometimes. If it's a performance that, it's a couple things, because I feel like if it's a performance that I'm like, okay, I knew what part I messed up on, and it like psychologically haunted me throughout the performance, and then I go back and watch it, it's like hard for me to see any of the good stuff because I know when it's gonna fall apart. But and then those become like the things that I avoid watching when I'm scrolling through my phone. Like maybe I'll watch it the one time and I'm like, okay, I know that's bad. And if it hurts, I'm not going to watch it again unless I'm showing someone else who's like, maybe I'm critically talking with. But most of the times I end up impressing myself. Like I feel like sometimes I'll watch myself and I'm like, where did I learn that little phrase of choreography I just whipped out? Or like, when did I learn to do that? Like sometimes there's moments like that where I'm like, oh, I think I just saw what the audience kind of saw. And because when you impress yourself, sometimes you can, and you are your harsh critic, that it's some of those moments that validate you. And you're like, I am doing what I'm hoping to be doing.
I know also when my time, when I was producing in New York regularly, that there was a lot of realization by several of the performers I was working with that they were the only ones who looked like them. And so New York had some fabulous performers that I worked with, such as Monroe Lily and Miscellaneous Dom Top, who were these strong, lithe, Black, gender non-conforming performers. And they were asking me, like, who else in the scene looks like me or has that sort of vibe, because they weren't seeing it. And I was like, well, frankly, there's not a whole lot. Knowing that on the West Coast, there was someone who, not necessarily a counterpart, but would have potentially been a representation that, folks deserve in the world. Did you find that you were the only one who looked like you, or that were there challenges or even successes that began with you being a minority, a queer person, and Black, frankly?
Yeah. Well, at the beginning, I didn't find, because Google was my best friend in like finding my path in burlesque. So when I first discovered boylesque, like when I first saw that flyer, I saw a white man, and then when I Googled it, I saw Tito Bonito. He was my next reference, and so like that alone, like just seeing like the two successes, he's white, he's Latino, I knew that there was room for me. I knew that at that point I had to make my space in LA. I was like doing a lot of research and I saw Black female performers, I saw Black drag queens, but I didn't see Black boylesquers. And honestly, that made me think I can create the example of myself and make that grow and see where that goes. I honestly kind of viewed it as that, and viewed that like anything I'm inspired to do is going to be the truth, and me being Black and queer together in addition to that is just the bonus. That was sort of me at the beginning. And then as I started to get into festivals where I was meeting performers from around the country and around the world, I did see like many Black boylesque performers. Like my first New York Burlesque Festival was the first time I saw maybe 3 additional Black male burlesque performers that were incredible. I met Luminous Pariah, Mahogany Storm, who's from Toronto, who was like, I was such a fan of him because he was dancing in heels and on pole and like flexible and just like everything that was like, I'm just like kick ass and do it all. And it was just so exciting for me to see like the other Black queer performers are kicking just as much ass, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting too. We still obviously have a long way to go. Have you felt that you being a lot of people's firsts in a lot of ways still, or being sort of the quote unquote the representation locally or what have you, has either been something that you've wanted to embrace, or is that something that you don't even really consider?
I have come to embrace it as of recently only because of the realization that, you know, I never really, even after being Mr. Hollywood, I still felt like I was climbing and searching for the confirmation that I was, you know, relevant, or the confirmation that I was like as strong as I'm trying to make myself be, or as I'm as you know, just that I'm up there with the other people who were up there before me, you know. And I feel like I've always been a little insecure because I came into burlesque being a professional dancer, and I didn't ever want it to look like I'm a dancer trying to do burlesque. And, you know, I'm as good as, you know, I've never tried to make it put it like that because my experience lacks in burlesque. And so I want to get, you know, I want to get to the point of education in it, that I'm educated in all my other forms of dance. And I feel like even just that sort of ideal has kind of made me a little bit insecure underneath, even though I feel so great when I'm on stage and like, I'm glad that people love what I'm doing. Also, it's like, I don't know if I'm really up there yet. You know, like I'm not anyone's first Google result like Tito was mine. And so that always blows my mind that me and Tito are such good friends, because literally he was like a search result. We were in a few shows together and we got along so well that we became friends. And so that's always so unreal to me, because I was such a fan of his first, and like Egypt, a fan of Egypt's, and like we became so close. So it's like all the relationships have sort of confirmed that for me while I was in my insecurity. Like, yeah, I guess I am up there. Like I am what I'm hoping to be, but still that doesn't mean get comfortable at the same time. You know, there's still work to be done to like stay at that point and to try and, you know, just keep growing, because now, especially in this digital thing where people are stuck on their phones, it's like a whole new strategy with the burlesquers, because now like Instagram's kind of shading us and the other social media things are like shading us, where our climb to relevancy has been like kind of halted.
Right. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
today, the day that we are recording this, March 12th, is the beginning of the Noir Pageant digital edition, and you are on tonight with fabulous performers such as Pinot Noir and Trade Mark and Moscato as Exotic. How do you feel about just being welcomed by, I mean, someone as luminous as Pinot Noir in the first place? I mean, that's got to feel like an excellent stamp of approval to begin with.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I can't even tell you. Like last year when the quarantine happened, as I was like following the pageant on social media, and I was like, oh, I wanted to be there. Honestly, like I haven't done any festivals in a while just because of like traveling and affording to travel has been difficult. And so when I saw just the pictures of that and like the performers that I knew and had been following, and just like thinking of that, and now like fast forward to when I got the acceptance letter, I was like, oh my God. So now I'm like in the mix with all these like legitimately glorious performers that are decorated from around the world. You know, I've just got the one little Mr. Hollywood, but you know what? I still got a little tiny crown that I love to wear.
You got a sash.
You know, and I got that sash, and you know, like I have to step back and remind myself, like, you are up there too. Like, you did the work and earned the prize just like the and it's been incredible just to like see the publications and always say like I'm in that with all these other Black and brown burlesque royals, you know.
You also have a regular relationship with Babylon Cabaret, which incorporates live singing and the strip. How do you feel? What makes a successful song and strip? You are listening to WEBurlesque The Podcast, Season 5. If you would like to join the WEBurlesque Podcast Network, please email weburlesque@gmail.com, subject line podcast, and let me know what you have in mind. Our guest today is the dazzling entertainer Kirby LaBrea from the Los Angeles area. You can go to the show notes of this episode to see all the links for them, including Creole Showboy on Twitter and Instagram. That is CreoleShowboy. And you can find them at facebook.com/Kirby LaBrea, KirbyLabrea. As ever, WEBurlesque thanks you for your support, whether you listen, subscribe, follow, review, or donate at patreon.com/WEBurlesque. We appreciate all that you do to keep our voices heard. Be safe. How do you feel, what makes a successful song and strip?
Okay, yes. So it's all about, well, okay, so working with a mic that is not wireless, it's very calculated. And so, but it's always something I've been used to. Luckily, when I was training in dance in college, there were all these, you know, assignments about like, okay, now you're going to just make something up and it has to be done by the end of class sort of thing. And your formula is this. So whenever I get like a new song for Babylon, I kind of approach it in a like sort of formulaic sense where like time at the mic, go away from the mic, or time at the mic, strip at the mic, go away and dance sort of way. And I've been doing Babylon, I think since the very beginning, like in 2016. And it's honestly, it's been so much fun because I love being able to whimsically get creative and like whimsical, because the numbers that I get to do are really lighthearted and like often funny, but sassy and fierce at the same time. So I love being able to kind of play with things. And then once it's created, it's like a number that everyone loves. Like honestly, a lot of the times I feel like I'm playing when I'm like choreographing myself for Babylon. So it's been like so much fun, and especially the growth of Babylon has been really extreme because we were an opening show in on Monday Night Teas for the first year of us being a show. And the growth of it has been like, I keep having to kind of pinch myself like, oh my God, this show is like really like people love this show and it's like as legit as we are trying to make it, you know?
What are some of your signature songs? What do you love to sing?
I think my favorite of this year, oh, it's starting to rain. Let me get under something.
Audience at home, we are connected through wires, but Kirby is currently in the outdoors.
So I think my two favorite ones, just because I feel like they're so in line with my personality. There's one that's called The Rise of the Creole Showboy that Cat House Red wrote for me, almost like a what is it called? Like a prologue about my life and career, but like if it took place in the 20s. And I just love that because it's legit telling this story that almost sounds like a fable, but it's not in a fantasy world, but it kind of makes it seem like it is. And I love that song. I love singing that song. And the first performance I did was for our first Zoom show. And so watching it in the quality that we filmed it was like even more mind-blowing. I was like, oh my God, this feels like I'm watching a TV special that I just sang on.
What do you have any
song?
do you have any standards that you would throw on a best of Kirby LaBrea?
Ooh, standard. Ooh. Okay, there's two. I would love to do Chances Are by Johnny Mathis. And that's probably, it's a little bit past the time where Babylon takes place, but it still like feels like the feeling to me. It's a total like crooner, jazzy, like slow song. And I would love to do that. And Johnny Mathis is Creole also. So I'd love to
I don't know if I knew that.
All dressed up in pompadour. He's a gay Creole man. Yes. So that, I would love to embody that gay Creole-ness.
For
other than that, probably a Jackie Wilson song, like Baby Workout, which is like a 60s dance song. Jackie Wilson is like my dad's everything, and he's sort of a lot of mine.
Yeah, I think the only song I know by Jackie Wilson is Your Love Keeps Lifting Me, but I love that song.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Do you go, when you perform, you're performing to a track, or there's a band?
When we perform live, they play live, and then when we do it in the studio, there will be a track, but they'll also be playing in addition to the track.
Okay, so how much arrangement insight do you get to have while you're working on that? What goes into the process of polishing that for you, as opposed to just trying to fit within the parameters?
We'll usually have like 1 or 2 rehearsals at either like at their house with the piano, or like in a studio or in a sound studio. And we'll do, if it's a new song, like I have to learn it first, so like play me the pitches and things, and then we'll run it a few times with the piano, just the piano. Or like if we're in the sound studio and it's the full band, we'll do it with the whole band and like tweak things. But the rehearsal with the band, with the full band, is kind of like real performance. So we'll do like full run through, and then but with the studio, it's usually just piano, or like just with Cat House, and then we'll get in the studio and it's like the soundtrack that they're playing underneath the track. So like I can hear their timing, but the audio's not going to pick up their playing.
So is this more of do you feel this more of like a concert showing with live stripping, or is it a theater, more of a theatrical experience?
A little of both, a little of both. And that's how I feel with most sing stripping. Like I always try to feel like with burlesque, I'm always trying to kind of give this experience of like someone's watching a mini musical, or like watching a 4-minute musical, and giving them the impact of a story arc that exists within a musical. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of try to approach it the same way with Babylon Cabaret. And it feels like a concert, because I love performing like it's a concert audience also in that aspect, because in a sense, that's kind of what they came for, like to hear someone sing a song that they love. And so I love to perform like that, but in my head, I'm always thinking like it's like a story arc of a theater show.
Do you have any, besides Johnny Mathis or Jackie Wilson, are there any icons that you grew up with that inspire you, or who today may be some of those folk?
Yes. I mean, a given would have to be Michael Jackson, especially from like the family singing history I have. Like my whole first third of my life is probably like knowing, like educating myself in Michael Jackson and knowing why his impact was so big, and like what he did for Black artists in general, and like for Black arts in the media, and Black actors, Black music, like just what he did for the industry at the time that I was like educating myself and becoming familiar is pretty incomparable. And like looking at all the work he's done in the past is still like, it's still hard to challenge. Like, Bad is still my absolute favorite music video of all time. I feel like I can watch that over and over again, and I want to like just now with TikTok and everything, it's like, oh my God, I should have recreated it already.
There's still time. There's still time.
Yes. So definitely Michael Jackson has to be one, because it's just the fire, the inspirational fire that each watching him perform creates is just like, I can't even, it's incomparable. And Lady Gaga as well. It's like that, I gravitate to the flame that sparks off of performance. And I love every one of her performances. It's just like, when performers make me want to get up and start performing next to them, it's like that, it's those people.
I love it because I think for a lot of folk, it would be almost intimidating, but for you, it's inspirational. And you're like, I could do it. I could match that. Let's go.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Yes.
I think it's interesting you mentioned Michael Jackson specifically, because in my brief research, I believe that you also have something in common with him, where you were both raised Jehovah's Witness.
Yes. Oh my God. Did I tell you that before?
No, but it's on the internet, so I found it.
Oh, yes. And you know what's really funny? My dad was in the VH1 movie about the Jacksons back in 1992. He played Jackie Wilson in that movie. And he had to audition for Jermaine Jackson for that. But yeah, my dad is a Jehovah's Witness. I was raised for the first portion of my life as Jehovah's Witness. And then my mom and dad, they broke up when I was a baby, but my mom was kind of like going a little back and forth between like, you know, are we going to stay with this, or are we going to, you know, what do we do now? What do I believe now? That's kind of, I was like going through that transitional period as a toddler. And so where we're at now is like, it's not that we reject all the beliefs of Jehovah's Witnesses, but there are, like, my mom has never been anti-gay. She's never been anti any people. And so there's just an aspect of the religion that kind of asks you to not acknowledge like gay people, or not to acknowledge, you know, things like that. And
sure.
So with those types of things, it was like when she was with my dad, it was almost like she was trying to not, it was like, okay, but I don't want to talk about it anymore, sort of thing. Mm-hmm. But then after, it was like, okay, I'm free of that shackle, but that doesn't mean I don't believe in God. It doesn't mean I don't believe in like all of these things I believe in. It's just like me not being anti-gay does not mean I don't believe in God. So maybe I'll just not believe in God with you, and I'll believe in God by myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As male burlesquers specifically, there's a lot of that discourse on stage about masculinity and presentation. And when we bring in the queerness aspect of a lot of male burlesquers, there's sort of that discussion back and forth on how we present on stage, what it means and represents for us as sometimes we embrace the femininity, sometimes we butch the hell up to such an extreme, but it's always a commentary on what we feel perceived and projected upon us as well. How have you explored your queerness, particularly your Black queerness and your formerly religious upbringing into your stage persona?
Well, it took me a while to dance in heels. First, let me just say that. It took me about like 4 years of like 4 years of being in burlesque before I even got a gig to, you know, dance in heels. Like, I had a pair of heels, but I wore them like once to go strolling in WeHo. And so when I got that gig to backup dance for an artist in heels, it was like a little bit intimidating, but then I did the gig and I was like kind of killing it on some platforms and I didn't fall over. And so that alone, finding I feel strong when I dance in heels, and I have the strength to dance in heels was like the first aspect of me kind of unleashing queerness whenever I step on stage. Because up to that point, I felt like most of my numbers, I was performing for mostly straight audiences. So already I'm going to be the gayest thing in any show I'm in. So how gay do I be when I hit the stage? Am I going to be intimidating? Like, I was thinking of a lot of these things. And then once I got past the point of like, I can dance in heels and I can put some heels on in a performance and I'm secure with my body and I want to like, I feel sexy, then that sort of challenged me to really embrace every way I feel sexy, because I love the way a lot of clothes made for women look on me. And it took me a while to really like put a crop top on and go out to a show, or put a crop top on and like, or put a crop vest on and add it in my number, because it was feminine and I didn't want people to like say any of those things. And then it just got to a point where I was secure in the fact that I just love how I look and what I'm putting on. And I know that like I love that I embody strongly both my feminine and masculine, and I feel like most of the time I don't have to choose which one I'm being in a number. You know, I love to kind of channel both through myself.
Well, also when you're coming from a dance perspective, the tighter the pant, the less loose things are, the more, I mean, obviously in dresses you're going to want some flow for the visual, but as a gentleman, very often you're just like vacuum sucked in those outfits.
Yeah. Pants were an obstacle for me like the first portion of my career also, just because I'm like, I avoided pants honestly because it's not always easy to make pants break away. And then taking pants off without taking your shoes off, because I don't like to take my shoes off during performances either. That is like a thing for me. But then you put that together with pants that are like not gonna make it over my damn boot. I'm like, oh my God. And so chaps have been a great thing for me too. I love chaps that are stretchy because I can just like yank them over something and then be in my tearaway shorts. But yeah, it's like, yeah, it's it can be challenging sometimes to like think of like how to embody both efficiently.
Do you make your own wardrobe?
No, I mean, I don't make anything. I will like buy things and have them either altered by someone else or like have someone who can make it and then you know, bring it back to me. But often I just like do the rhinestoning or maybe like hand sew a little something, but I'm not really
You're not a costume maker.
No.
One of the first acts that I saw you do was actually at a Tita Bonito show, and you did your baseball player act.
Yes.
Did you have athleticism growing up, or is this your sort of fantasy fulfillment in burlesque?
That one, it's so funny. That one is totally a fantasy fulfillment, and I didn't even think about it till way later. Like that costume, like that's the number I've been doing the longest. Like I've been doing that since the beginning, and it's just evolved. But that costume came together because I was just in Forever 21 at the mall, and I saw those black and white stretchy leggings, and they also had like a little varsity baseball jacket, red and black with the big B on it. And I saw those together, and I was like, it was like I saw everything I've ever done. You know, I was like, what the fuck? I can be a sexy baseball player. And I did it without the leggings coming off for like years before I had someone like sew in the zippers. And I didn't even think about it till later, but the only sport I ever tried out for in high school was for baseball. And I didn't make it because like it was the most boring anything experience of my life when I was trying out for the outfield, because they're hitting all the balls not anywhere near me. I'm literally just standing there waiting for something. And I start spacing out. I'm like falling asleep with my eyes open. And then when the ball comes towards me, it literally just smacks my hand on the back of the glove, and it woke me up. And I was like, oh, the closest thing to athleticism I've ever done. From then on, it was dance.
How have you, obviously we've been through the last year plus. We're approaching the anniversary as of this recording of when things really started to lock down, and LA was one of the first to really address it because of the COVID not results, but diagnoses, cases. That's the word I'm looking for. Because of the COVID cases were rising. How have you been able to channel so much of your outgoing personality and so much of your social personality into the last year? How have you kept sane? Bananarama?
Okay, all right.
A band? Yeah.
Yes. As a pastor's kid growing up in the 90s, there was a lot of mainstream entertainment that I was sheltered from.
Stephen Root, he does one of the voices.
Okay.
You know him from News Radio.
Do I?
You know him from Office Space.
Do I?
You know...
Most things, really. So, now that I am an independent and out queer 30-something, I'm finally asking my friends to teach me about all the stuff I missed out on. Wait, Raffi did Beatles covers?
Yes, he did.
My mind is blown.
He did Octopus's Garden. And,
Yeah, I remember Octopus's Garden.
No.
I didn't know that wasn't a Raffi original until just now. The Re-Education of Hazel Tart. Subscribe now.
Kevin Costner. He was so foxy.
I know the name, I don't know the face. I cannot... What is Kevin Costner? Can you just show me a picture of Kevin Costner's face, please?
Think of the guy,
This is hurting
not
my head.
Cheech Marin, but think of the other guy in Tin Cup.
I've never seen that.
We've made difficult decisions.
And there are still more ahead of us.
2 people aren't enough to save the galaxy.
We need the toughest,
Smartest.
deadliest allies.
We need you.
We need you to join us.
And listen to Reignite.
A certain point of view podcast about storytelling
Love.
and Mass Effect.
Join us every other Thursday as we fight for the fate of an entire galaxy.
You can find us everywhere you get your podcasts.
Or at certainpov.com/reignite.
We're counting on you.
We should go.
So much of your outgoing personality and so much of your social personality into the last year. How have you kept sane?
Ooh, well,
if at all.
Yeah. I mean, I was really excited that so many virtual opportunities came up because, I mean, at the beginning, I had like gigs just weeks away at that time. And so it was the day before cabaret show. So, you know, immediately my thoughts were, what are performances going to be like? Or like, am I going to perform at all? And then immediately I got like a virtual opportunity, which was like, oh, okay, that seems cool. I was like analyzing the opportunity and not until I did it, that's when I saw like, oh my God, this is a possibility to kind of keep the energy of entertainment, having to, just go on YouTube for looking for old stuff. And so that first virtual show was kind of a spark for trying to be performance ready still. And then once I saw things for pre-recorded performance opportunities, that shifted my focus into kind of creating like boylesque music videos. Like it's something I wanted and just like avoided because I didn't have the time because I was busy with live performances. And now that the time presented itself so plentifully, I immediately focused on like storyboarding and creating things to create for virtual shows, because I know if I'm doing a pre-recorded anything in a virtual show, I don't want it to be, I don't have a, so
I'm sorry, say that again. You cut out for a second.
Oh, I don't have a filmable home.
Oh, I see.
So always I'm like, I have to find somewhere to film. And I'm just like, if I'm going to do that, I'm going all out. I'm not going to pretend I'm in the house. Like I'm going to pretend this is a Mariah Carey music video of my dreams.
So it's been so great to be able to do that, because that has been channeling a part of myself that I've been like kept a cap on because I want to give it away when the videos come out. And now I'm able to create these videos and people see, what's in my head and what's been in my head for like a lot of these numbers that are live performances, but people can't see the cinematic effect when it's live.
Well, are these more traditional performing in front of a camera, or are these fully edited?
There'll be a mix. Like I'll do a couple videos that are just like one time through the song, perform it like it's live. And then I have more that are edited music videos, but still trying to structure it so it maintains the essence of it being live. So I think only one of my videos I had to like start from the start at the end and then get dressed for the beginning, just because of like time or whatever, and like trying to get it done. But most of the time I'm trying to like still execute the essence of live, because when people are watching it, they still want the energy of like that you're there,
Right. Are you editing it yourself?
Some of them, but when the person that has been filming for me has edited 3 videos for me, because I don't have too many capabilities. I have kind of basic editing capabilities.
Listen, we didn't get into this career because we thought we were great at Premiere. I mean,
so yeah, it's been someone else who's been doing like the fancier stuff for me.
So our one of our major connections is that you provided the crown to me at the last live, the most recently live Hollywood Burlesque Festival. An extraordinarily warm and inviting weekend. I could not have asked for more. And I'm curious about your experience. It was 4 years prior?
Yes.
What was that night like for you?
Oh my God. Like, honestly, I always think of that night as it's like one of the best nights of my life, because that's one of the first times in my climb towards like being relevant or just being a performer that people would call. It was like the moment that, it just spoke for itself. I didn't know that Tito was in that competition with me. I was scared because, I didn't think I'm going to beat Tito Benito. Like the first Google result I Googled when I Googled boylesque. And so, and I performed with a duet. Also, I competed for that category with my burlesque sister, Naomi. And when they said my name, it was like I was in disbelief. This was the first thing I won anything for, outside of high school. Mm-hmm. So it's a really surreal feeling to think, and like being, even though it was the second festival, I was the first Black Mr. Hollywood. And, you know, it felt good to be a Black male burlesque performer who's gay and be told you're the best in this room right now, and you're the best in the city, or you're the king of glorified strippers in LA, you know? It's like, it was so surreal, and it really made it real for me, because, you know, it was still a dream at that time for me to be doing burlesque professionally, and to be creating things for, you know, for work, to be creating the things I fantasize about for work. And it all became really real at that moment. And even just speaking to people after, and like hearing that people wanted me to win, or people like cried when I won, you know, it was just like, it was very surreal for me. And I just am always so grateful to that night. And I feel like I talk about it too much, but I can't stop talking about it, just because it was really an experience that made all this really real for me.
I mean, that's the thing, is we're not mainstream famous. We don't have these accolades, and it feels every once in a while, as someone who does the Silver Tusk Awards, which every year for White Elephant for the last 5 years, it's been whoever has participated in White Elephant, generally speaking, that last year. And it's an opportunity to sort of poke fun at it, at the award ceremony concept, but also to sort of embrace that if we're not doing this and becoming Oscar winners, as it were, let's pat ourselves on the back just a little bit.
Yeah.
And even if we do get swelled heads, what do those swelled heads really lead to? I mean,
honestly, like, even I feel like I was doing burlesque for like a short time when the first festival happened. I think I heard about the festival maybe like a week or something. Like, it was way too late to submit anything, that's for sure. So it was like maybe a couple weeks before. And when I saw that, I was like, Hollywood Burlesque Festival? There's burlesque festivals. And so, yeah, knowing the existence of those, I love that we have ways to make everybody know we take ourselves seriously, and that we work hard for what we do.
Who are some of the colleagues that you work with right now that are some of your very favorites? Who do you love working with?
I love working with Misspent Youth. She's the producer of Babylon Cabaret. I'm still like, it's so funny because we only saw each other in a few shows like that we were in together before she approached me about that show. And it was like the night that, like, the first night I ever sang and did burlesque. I sang Jungle Love like years ago. And
the Morris Day and the Time song?
What was that?
The Morris Day and the Time song?
Yes, honey. Yes, because Purple Rain had just been out in the theaters because Prince had just passed away. And so that was the first time I ever heard that song. I saw it with my mom and sister. I never saw Purple Rain. That song came on and I was like, why isn't this in my repertoire? And then a few weeks later, I threw on a grass skirt and the rest is history. And yeah, Misspent Youth was gonna ask me. She was like, hey, can I talk to you after the show? And I was like, sure. And then I sang my number and she was like, okay, I'm not even gonna ask you. You have to do our show. And I was like, oh my God. And it was like, I thought I would do it once in a while. And literally every single month we've done it, aside from like one December, a couple years ago, I've done the show. And it's incredible because it really, you know, being Black, gay, and queer, you would think there's not a lot of room to create something for me that's in the 1920s or takes place in the 1920s. And
it was all there. It was just very segregated.
It's not like they just say we don't give a fuck, but it's like they just flip things so in like the most creative way to like create these things for me that are me, but still take place there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's always like, I always feel like I have a very important spot in that show, and I always feel so good when I do that show. So I just love working with cat house in this venue because they know me and they like show that they know me, you know.
Well, you're also taking an opportunity to claim that space on behalf of folks who couldn't at the time in an integrated cabaret speakeasy setting. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I feel like I've always wanted to sort of be a cabaret singer. Also, I mean, don't tell my mother, but anytime I've ever been to a restaurant that has a stage or stage-esque setup, I see myself on it. And so like getting that show and doing it for so long, it really feels really good.
In addition to the song and dance, what are some of the things that you love? What are some of your passions or interests or hobbies?
Other than honestly, I don't even know if it's anything else besides performing. And I love to use my performance to teach also. Like I love using performance to like educate a little bit. I do like teaching dance to adults and kids. I have taught like preschool dance once, which was like something I didn't even know I was ready for. And then like my students listen to me, you know, and they're like 2 years old. I was like, whoa, I can do this.
Is that what your non-glitter life is? Are you an instructor?
Yes. I'll teach. I dance in a dance company that we do a lot of Bollywood dance and modern dance. Oh. And so sometimes we have education opportunities, mostly at like studios, but that was my first kind of in a school opportunity. I think I taught at a high school once, but then that preschool was something else.
Now I know we're on a timetable because you took the opportunity to come onto the pod during your lunch break, and I thank you for spending the time and dedicating it. I look forward to seeing you at the show tonight at the Nora pageant. I got my ticket weeks ago so I could have my double feature. It is today and tomorrow. Before I let you go, what do you hope to bring into the post-pandemic from what you've learned that you're looking forward to adjusting to?
Well, okay. So during the pandemic, we had the sort of reignition of the Black Lives Matter movement. And I gotta be honest, when that happened, you know, it changed everything in how I now. Because I feel like most of my numbers haven't stood too much for like a cause or like, you know, most of the time I'm just showing that I'm Black, queer, I'm confident. You can't take that.
Mm-hmm.
That's just
a statement. That's a statement.
With that, I feel a very deep responsibility to not only do Black Lives Matter, but all Black Lives Matter. You know, I have to show that, you know, there's no reason that it's going to be okay for you to disrespect me. You can't say anything that's going to validate you being disrespectful. You know, I feel almost a responsibility to channel this notion into some of my numbers, just something that stands for like an ownership of not strength, but just like in owning yourself and like telling people like it's okay to own yourself and own your honor and own your respect, and not because with millennials right now, a lot of people take a lot of crap and that they don't know it's not okay until after they've experienced it. And I feel like it's often it's really unfair for people to have to go through that. And so I really feel like I'm trying to create art that goes towards just building that up, like generating a message of that.
Well, I look forward to seeing it. And I appreciate what you do. I'm glad to be in the echelon with you. be sash holders with you. And I can't wait to see you on the other side of this and be with you back in the wings. So be well, be safe, keep doing what you're doing. I love to see it. And I'll keep in the show notes the way that folks can keep in touch with you.
Oh my God, thank you, Victor.
It's been my pleasure, Kirby. Thank you so much. Have a safe rest of your day, and see you on the boards eventually.
I'll see you tonight.
Bye, darling. Thank you.
Bye.
WEBurlesque The Podcast, property of WEBurlesque Corporation, all rights reserved, Viktor Devonne. Opening and closing music, On a 45 by This Way to the Egress, available on iTunes, Amazon Music, Spotify, or wherever you get your songs. Used with permission. Please visit WEBurlesquepodcast.com for show notes on this and any other episode of WEBurlesque The Podcast.